Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirit. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you for tuning in for another interesting action-packed episode. As in this week's episode, we're going to be looking at questions with the dowsing rods. Also in this week's episode, we see the channeling from the world of spirit come in and the wonderful information that they bring forward. And then we have a sneaky peek into this week's energy forecast reading. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the beginning of this episode. As I say, we're going to be diving deep with questions with dowsing rods. So first of all, dowsing rods is a form of divination. So what is divination? Well, divination are tools or instruments that aligns with vibrational energy and that you can use to either encourage your natural sensitivity, your spiritual gifts and abilities. And these tools also operate with vibrational frequencies and energy fields. And divination is a way of extracting that information and having some sort of communication with energy outside of your physical vessel. Also, divination can be used in many different forms, and I'm going to dive a little bit into that in a moment. But another question, can anybody do it? It's a double-edged sword, that is. I would say yes and no. Yes, anybody can do it. Anybody can pick up some of these dowsing tools and start using them. But are they using them correctly and respectfully? And are they influencing the information that's coming forward by their lack of respect, knowledge, and procedure? It's a grey area, that one. So yes and no would be my answer to that. Why do we use divination? I would say we use divination. I'm speaking from my perspective of being a spiritual medium, of course, but we use divination in order to get clarity, to get information, to get confirmation, to also get guidance and a little bit of support. And we use it that way. And then we use it, personally speaking, I use it in conjunction with my natural spiritual gifts and abilities to give additional clarity and information. But divination is a great way of working, having something tangible in front of yourself. For example, it's a great way for you to work with your clients because they can feel part of that reading or that situation that you're working with. And it just brings them into that world. And obviously with their enhanced focus of attention, that only amplifies the energy and the experience and the connectivity and also the healing and the evidence and the information that comes through. So it can be very beneficial for all parties involved. However, whilst you're using these forms of divination, you've got to be very, very careful. Like I say, anybody can do it, yes and no, but you've got to be respectful. You've got to set some boundaries and you've got to know what you're using the tools for. So protection is key. Okay, so when to use divination? Let's go there with that question. Well, I'm going to come from the angle of being a spiritual medium. So when I would use divination, is private readings. You've heard of mediums using cards and things like that. I would use it in conjunction in connection, should I say, with a private reading. So again, the client can feel part of the reading. It's a tangible experience as well as an audible one for them. And it just adds to the evidence, the information, and the experience for the client, and also for the reader, for that matter, because it can trigger some insight and inspiration and healing that needs to come through for that client. So I would use it that way. I'd also use divination if I'm doing a house cleansing or a paranormal event or investigation. I find it very useful to get that confirmation, get that direction, and, also get that clarification. And again, with your client being there as well, it is good visual feedback for them to actually see that you are working and you are bringing forward that healing, and you're getting that confirmation for their benefit as well. So I would use it personally for that. There are people that I know, if they've lost something around the home and they're looking for it and, they're in their head too much, they would go about by using divination in order to find that missing item. And you can do this also for people. In fact, there are people outside of the spiritual community that work with the utilities, such as water, and you can use some of the divination methods to locate where water is and where the water sources are. And I believe that is how a lot of these unrecognized wells were located, and underground streams, and also ley lines were located as well by using divination. So what kind of tools are we talking about when we're using divination? Okay, so let's go through the list of tools that you can use. So, first of all, tarot cards, oracle cards, angel cards are all forms of divination. Again, you set your intention, you bless the cards, you clear the cards, and obviously you set the intention for how you wish to use the cards and the questions you wish to pose to the cards for whatever client, for whatever reason. So you can use cards in that way. But again, you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to have that experience to get the full benefit of using it. And it does help if you're particularly sensitive, because, like I say, these cards will trigger your spiritual gifts and abilities and will enable you to get additional information to add what you're picking up. Other tools that can be used. There's one I don't like to promote, but it's the elephant in the room, so I will mention it. And this is spirit boards, or Ouija boards as they're most commonly known. Now, it is a tool, a divination tool, where spirit can manipulate the vibrations of the sitters and can also move the planchette or the glass, upturned glass. And basically they're boards with the alphabet on and a series of numbers on and a yes or no response at the bottom there. And people use these to communicate with either spirits in the location and get some dialogue and information going. However, as I say, I don't use them personally. I don't wish to promote anybody to use them, but they are a divination tool nevertheless. And the reason why I don't promote people to use them is simply down to the fact, because over the years, as you can imagine, the amount of properties, locations that I've been to where there's been enthusiasts of the paranormal that have gone to those locations not knowing fully what they're doing, and they're using spirit boards to get a reaction, to get a response, maybe to use online and get some sort of clickbait without fully knowing what they're doing and what they're opening up. Because 9 times out of 10, they're opening up a portal from the unseen realm into this dimension. And the properties and locations that I've been to where spirit boards have been used, they've opened up a portal And once they've got the information that they wanted to extract using the spirit board, they would then be all excited and they wouldn't close it down properly. Again, they haven't had that training. They don't close it down. And that portal is then permanently open. And all manner of lower base entities, energies, lost souls can enter that place, that location, that property. And you can get imps, you can get demonics, you can get all sorts that come in. And they can cause absolute mayhem and havoc with the people that live in that location. They can play havoc with their mental health, their physical health, also lower the vibrations of that building as well, make it very unpleasant to be around. And it can just cause absolute mayhem. So, and also the people that are using the spirit board at the time, if they're using it with no knowledge or anything of that, anybody that has that knowledge base around them, then they can have quite literally a spirit attach themselves to them, and they can take that spirit away with them and have a form and attachment with them. And it can literally harvest their lower base vibrations in order for that attachment to thrive and survive. So a lot I'm talking about here. Sorry, my words are jumbled. But yeah, I would not recommend it. No matter how cool it looks on films, please don't do it, because you will be causing all manner of chaos, potentially speaking. But moving on, with divination tools, we have other useful tools such as pendulums. Now, pendulums are either a bit of chain and they have a crystal attached to the end, like a point of some kind. And that can be used to establish a yes or no response. And again, just holding it up and doing it, you've got to have a level of respect whilst you're using this. You've got to set boundaries, have your protection there, and you've got to be asking clear, strong questions. And ideally, if you are sensitive and you have your spiritual gifts and abilities in check, you can then use this as a stepping board in order to get additional clarity and information for the channelings and the information that you're getting. And also, it is a great tool for people that you're working with. It's a visual representation of the work that you're doing, so they can feel involved and invested in that connection there. Another divination tool, an old one, runes, you may have heard, where runes are originally, I believe, were made out of animal bone, and they had scribings, symbolisms etched into them. And when these bones were thrown, the reader, the psychic, or whatever you would like to call them, the intuitive, would look how those bones fell, the position they landed, and then each symbolism on the bone would represent a message of some kind and would convey a story to that individual, that client that they're working with. There's also one of my favorite divination tools, and this is dowsing rods. I love working with the rods, and you can use these in a reading. You can use these for a personal use. So if you're vexed, you're in your head a lot, you have a lot of questions, and you're wanting some clarity, they're great for that. But again, you must clear them. You must ask with intention. You must ask for the highest to come through. And you also must keep asking questions and then trusting your intuition with them as well. But you can also use the rods on an investigation, paranormal investigation. You can ask spirit to direct you to the point that's most active in that location and just follow the rods where they're taking you. You can also locate gravestones as well, graves of people, by doing this and asking with clarity and feeling into that as well. You can also use them in conjunction with communicating directly with a spirit or being in a location to get some form of communication. And again, utilizing your spiritual gifts and abilities, you'll get more information around the questions that you're asking. So they're a particular favorite of mine. And what I'd like to do actually today on this episode is using the dowsing rods as we're recording this episode. I'd like to ask a series of questions to the rods and then dive in with the spiritual gifts and abilities to get some additional clarity for us all. Now, the questions that I have will be very relevant to most of us on planet Earth. So hopefully you can extract some wisdom, some information, some guidance from the information that we're going to receive via the rods and my spiritual gifts and abilities. So, first of all, before I use the rods, I'm going to communicate with you how to use the rods. I'll share my methods with you. So, first of all, I'm using copper rods, and these copper rods, they have a swivel handle. So, I particularly like this version because you can't tamper with them. So once you're holding these handles in your hand, they're fixed, they don't move. And then there's a copper shaft inserted inside of the handle, and it's only that moves when spirit move it. So, they're anti-tamper proof, so to speak. So I find these particularly useful for anybody that is skeptical, that think, oh, you're moving that. Well, I'm not, because you cannot literally move them. You would notice, if you know what I mean, because the handles are fixed in my hand. So I like it for that reason. So let's talk you through setting up the rods. Now, I always clear the rods, and I do this by holding the rods in my left hand, and using my right hand, I form a fist, and I knock onto the rods, and I say these words: clean, clear, cancel, delete. And you can hear me tapping on them as I'm saying that in time there. And this clears the vibration, the energy from them, from their previous usage, so that they're clean, they're cleared, and they're ready to be used. The next thing I will do before holding a rod in each hand is I will ask my spirit guides and helpers to draw forward. I will call in Archangel Michael and the Band of Mercy to step forward, and I'll ask for only the highest, brightest spirit communicators that come forward in the name of love, light, peace, truth and harmony, healing, wisdom and evidential information. And I ask that only the truth, the highest truth and the evidential information may be used in order to come forward as answers by using these rods. So I set all of that up. I've already, prior to recording this, I've already done my initial connection with my spirit guides. I've set intentions. I've done my meditation. So that's something that I do personally. I wouldn't just pick up the rods and hey ho, here we go. No, I would do all the preparations first. And then, like I've just said, I would then set the intentions with the rods and their usage. So I have done that previously to this episode, but I'm just telling you the methods that I will use. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rod in each hand, okay? And for me, I always ask, first of all, for clarification. So as I'm speaking, the rods are just swaying left and right. So I'm going to ask for a clarification. Can I ask that my guides come through the rods and show me a yes response on the rods, please? Can you show me a yes response on the rods, please? And as I'm speaking, the rods have crossed over. Okay, now the rods have reset and they're facing forward, apart. Can I ask my guides to show me a no response, please, using the rods? And as I'm speaking, the rods are moving wide, like 1/4 and 1/4 on a clock face. So that is their no response. Thank you. So I'm thanking my guides, and now the rods are moving face forward apart from one another. So as I say, we're going to have a series of question and answers using the rods, and the energy in the rods are very excited because they're moving left and right. So without further ado, let's ask the first question to the rods. Okay. Is there going to be a cashless society? So at this moment, the rods are having a think about it. They're just moving, getting into position. And they are crossing. So that would indicate a yes response to, is there going to be a cash society? But in addition to that, my guides are telling me only for those that wish to use that system. Is that correct? Using the rods, is that correct? Yes. And the rods have crossed. So at the moment, it's not in full force. Is that always going to be the case? I'm asking the rods, and the rods have said no. So they've said softly, softly, gently, gently, tiptoe, tiptoe. So my guides mean that eventually it will go in to a cashless society. But for now, it's tiptoeing in that direction. Is that right? Can you use the rods to clarify that information? And the rods have crossed. Okay. So the next question I would like to ask is, will petrol and diesel vehicles still be used in the year of 2030? Okay, so the rods are moving and they're having a think about it. Okay, they're moving. There's a bit of... And the rods have crossed. So that would indicate that in the year 2030, petrol and diesel vehicles will still be used. Okay, just for additional clarity, will petrol and diesel vehicles be banned in 2030? Okay, and the rods are going left and right, away from one another. So again, just to remind you, that would be a no response. So what the rods are suggesting, that petrol and diesel vehicles won't be banned in the year 2030. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. And the next question is AI going to take away lots of jobs? Okay, so I've just proposed that question to the rods. And the rods are now crossing. So that is a yes response. I'm going to ask additional questions for that. So with this being the case, how... I've got to phrase this correctly for a yes and no response. It's quite difficult. So will people be able to generate an income for themselves and their family, even though this is the case? Okay, now the rods are moving and they're crossing together. So people will still be able to generate an income for themselves. Is this through self-employment work? Oh, and the rods have crossed very, very quickly. And in addition to that, my guides are saying to me, service for a service. So to me, that sounds very much like a bartering type system where you would maybe, I don't know, do one good turn deserves another and do trades. Is that correct? Can you show me on the rods, please, guides? Is that correct, that statement? The rods have just crossed, so that is a yes response. Will this be banned? Okay, and the rods are moving, and it's a no response. But in addition to that, my guides are saying there will be steps in place to try and make it illegal for people to do this, because the powers that be will find it difficult to tax and earn from people's expertise. Is this right? Can you show me on the rods, please? And the rods are crossing, so that signifies a yes response. So moving into our next question. Will there be a fairer distribution of wealth to the masses? And I'm talking about financial wealth. Okay, so the rods look undecided at this moment. They are making some movement. Okay, well, one of the rods has come into the center and the other rod is left. So to me, that indicates it will depend. This is what I'm hearing from my guides. It will depend on the individual and what their belief systems are. If they believe that they are worthy of it, then they can obtain that fairer distribution of wealth. However, if they're holding the vibration of lack, then that will be their experience. No form of external sources will ever change that. It is very much an inside job. So provided that you make the necessary deep dives within, then you can obtain fairer distribution of wealth. Okay, so Rods, can you clarify that information, please? Is that correct? And the rods have just crossed. So that would be a yes response to that additional channeling there that we got. In relation to distribution of wealth, will there be a transparency of where public funding and money is going? Oh, and the rods have moved and they're very clear that it's a no, because the rods have separated and gone very wide left and right. Okay, so I'm going to ask another question in relation to that. So will a lot of these misdemeanors regarding public funding be, what's the word I'm after, be found out? Oh, and the rods are crossing, so that's a yes. And in addition to that, my guides have just said public inquiries. People want to know. People are struggling and they want to know. Is that correct? Asking the rods? And the rods have crossed for a yes. So lots of legal issues and public inquiries are going to start to occur. And my guides, in addition to that, have just said 2027. Forgive my language. They've just said the S will hit the fan. And you all know what I'm referring to by stating that. Okay, so moving on. Our next question is our DNA changing as a human race? So I'm posing that question to the rods and my guides. The rods are gently moving now. And okay, so the right rod has crossed and the left rod has stayed far and wide on the left. So to me, that indicates, I just get the additional clarity from my guides. For some, it will. For others that are stuck in old, repetitive timelines, they will find it hard to ascend and connect on a DNA configuration. And the rods are swaying as well to confirm that they're in agreement. Okay, so with this, is it going to happen for a select few? And the rods have crossed to signify a yes. And I've just heard, for those that are conscious, awake and aware, it has already been happening for the last 5 years. But not to worry, because everybody will catch up when they're ready and where their soul is ready to evolve. I'm also hearing that DNA is a transmitter and receiver of information. So those that are and have been receiving these DNA upgrades will experience life in HD, high definition. And the rods are crossing to signify a yes response. The next question I'm going to pose to the rods is, will there be a full disclosure about alien races? Okay, so there's movement in the rods. The right one is swaying, the left one is swaying, and the rods are crossing to signify a yes response. In addition to that, my guides are saying there will be no other option because lots of anomalies will be cited, lots of strange phenomena will be occurring within the next 5 years. And the general man of the street will begin to notice it. And as I'm saying these words, the rods are moving and they're crossing in agreement with the information that's coming from my guides. So will this happen in the year of 2026? And straight away the rods are separating and going side to side. So that would be a no response. Will this happen in the next 5 years? The rods are moving. Okay, the one at the right-hand side has crossed over, the left-hand side hasn't. And my guides have said, for some, that will be the case, but not all will believe it. It will shatter their illusions of reality, and they will deny that it's happening, even though it's there right under their nose. Is that correct? I'm asking the rods, and the rods have crossed for additional clarity. Okay, so the next question I'd like to pose to the rods and my guides is, will the illegal immigrant crisis stop in the UK? Okay, so let's be more specific. Will the illegal immigrant crisis stop in the UK in the year of 2026? And it's a clear no from the rods. But I am hearing in addition to that, but there will be provisions put into place to slow down the process. Okay, and the rods are crossing in agreement to say yes to that information. Will the illegal immigrant crisis stop in the UK over the next 2 years? Okay, one of the rods, actually they're crossing. So that would indicate a yes, but I'm hearing publicly yes, but it will still continue to happen behind the scenes on the underground, not in public view. And I've just heard, and the rods are crossing as well to confirm that it always has happened. It's just the fact that it's been too obvious to ignore over these past few years. But it's going to be a case of smoke and mirrors, and the rods are crossing to indicate a yes response. So the next question I would like to ask the rods is, will there be a World War III? The rods have stayed in a no position, and my guides have said most definitely not. However, there will be skirmishes that will occur around the globe to instill unrest and agitate the mass population. And as I'm saying that, the rods are crossing to signify yes. Okay, when will this occur? It will continue to occur. When one skirmish finishes, another one will appear. And as the rods are crossing, they're mentioning that the location of Sudan to watch out for, Sudan, and the rods are crossing for a yes confirmation there as well. So to add additional clarity to that question, so are we all going to be safe from a World War III crisis? And the rods have crossed. and they've said most definitely yes. That's the additional clarification from my guides. So the next question I have for the rods and my guides is, will people start and be consciously aware of multiple dimensions? Oh, and the rods are moving quite rapidly, left and right, left and right, left and right. And okay, the rods, they're looking like dials on a compass, and now they're crossing, which would indicate a yes response. So people will be more consciously aware of multiple dimensions, and the rods are crossing again to signify yes. So with this being the case, is it a case of what we would deem as normality, the outlines of normality are going to be stretched, where people then start to believe and notice, well, that is unusual. That never happens. Why is that happening? And I'm hearing from my guides, the rules of science that we know and that we've been taught will be bent. And this will get the mass population scratching their heads with curiosity and also frustration and anger about the information that they've been taught about this. And the rods are moving left and right. They're crossing, they're opening, they're crossing, again to signify yes, 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 in relation to what my guides are talking about with this. So my next question is, will people become telepathic in the next 4 years? Okay, and the rods are crossing to signify a yes response. And in additional clarity to that, my guides are saying most have been doing it already without realizing. They know when the phone is going to ring. They know when something feels good, when something feels bad. They also get words popping in their head. And the rods are crossing to signify a yes. But this shared reality will be more populated and will be more accepted that this is a done thing. I'm also hearing there will be schools and education set up to help people to connect in with their natural ability of telepathy. And the rods are crossing, yes, again to confirm the information that my guides are saying. But these schools won't be official credited schools. They'll be happening behind the scenes to empower and help and get people connecting to their truth self again. And I'm being told that this natural born skill set has been depleted and moved out of our conscious awareness. However, 2027 is very important, where this gets switched on and magnified at a greater level. And the rods are crossing again in agreement to signify a yes response to what my guides are saying. My next question to the rods is, will 15-minute cities happen all over the world? Okay, so the rods are moving. They're swaying left and right. They're swaying left and right. And okay, so the rods are parting, but it's not a definitive no. So to me, that indicates there will be areas around the globe that implement these 15-minute cities, and it becomes of their regular, everyday, normal. However, there will be mass communities and populations that wholeheartedly object to having this happen in their community. And the rods are crossing to confirm a yes response to that information my guides have brought forward. So just to clarify then, it's not going to happen all over the world. And the rods have crossed to say, yes, that's right. But it will. Oh, they've just said communist states. Will it occur in And the rods are crossing And they're also saying, my guides are saying this, that it will be trialed in the UK with no success because people will revolt and will not comply. And the rods are crossing to signify a yes response. Okay, my next question to the rods are we forced to reincarnate after we die? The rods are moving wide, left and right, so that would indicate a no response. Are we encouraged to reincarnate in order to harvest our louche energy? Oh, and the rods are crossing to signify a yes. So just to recap, that is saying that we are encouraged to reincarnate so that our natural energy from our soul and our essence can be harvested. Oh, and I've just heard by the archons. Is that correct? And the rods are crossing to signify a yes response. My next question is, do we all astral travel? And the rods are fixed left and right wide, so that would indicate a no response. My final question to the rods is, can we all consciously connect and experience our highest timeline? Okay, so the rods, there's movement in the rods. They're swaying left and right. And the right rod is crossed over. The left one is staying in a quarter to the hour position. So to me, that would indicate that not everybody will be doing it because it's down to free will. But those that are aligning with their vibration, it will become second nature to them. And you will notice this occurring, the beginning stages of this occurring in the year of 2026, where more people will begin to be successful in the things and passions that they have in their life. And there'll be a lot of people wondering how they ever did that and connected to that vibration. And with that being the case, that will inspire those that are living in doubt to be more inspired and move with love, with faith, and move into their natural sense of self. And as I've said those words, the rods have been moving, they've been crossing, going like crazy to signify yes, yes, yes to everything that my guides were saying through me. So what I'm going to do is thank the rods now, and I'm going to close the rods down respectfully. So thank you. I'd like to thank my guides, spirit guides and helpers. Thank you, Archangel Michael and the Band of Mercy, for helping all of this information and communication to respectfully come through using the rods and my spiritual gifts and abilities. I now would like to close these rods down and clear the vibrations of them. So I'm going to tap on the rods, again holding them in my left hand and knocking with my right. Clean, clear, cancel, delete. And I'm going to finish off by saying infinite love and gratitude. And so it is with love and with peace. And with that, I hope those questions have maybe answered some of your own personal curiosities, or at least made you more interested in this line of work. As I say, we've been talking about questions with dowsing rods and the usage of various methods of dowsing and how to use them, and respectfully how to use that beautiful tool and technique. So I hope you found this incredibly interesting. So how's everybody doing? I'd just like to touch base with you all and see how your week is going. And if you've noticed any substantial changes in this year of 2026. For me personally, I'm incredibly excited because today, as you're listening to this, I have reached a milestone in my life because it is my birthday today. That's right, the 19th of January. And this happens to be a very special big birthday for me because and I'm pinching myself, I can't believe it. I am 50 years old today. How bizarre. I always envisioned even people in their 50s were ancient, they're over the hill and, life ended for them. And as I'm experiencing, that is not the case. I feel this vibration of rejuvenation. I feel like there's going to be some vast changes for me in my 50th year. To me, it feels like the struggles, the trials, the tribulations that I've been through in all sections of my life are starting to be removed from my vibration. And I'm with ease and grace moving in to a different timeline where I'm going with the flow, I'm trusting, and I magnetize what I need into my life when I need it. That's just what I'm feeling around my 50th year. So time will tell. I'll update everybody and report what's happening to give you that feedback. But I just thought I'd share that with you, and yes, it is quite bizarre. When I was growing up, when I was a young teenager, never did I realize that in my 50th year, I'd be doing what I'm doing now. Never did I realize that I would have a shaved head, because I was a die-hard rocker with long blonde hair, and I thought it was going to be rock, do or die with the rock, and I'd always look like that with the long hair. And I anticipated growing a long beard as well. Well, I have neither of those things anymore. And you know what? I believe that, you don't have to look a certain way to like things. And I still love the rock music. I love all forms of music. So plus doing what I do now, I never would have imagined in my teenage years that I'd be doing this, speaking on radio, helping people, communicating, channeling. It just blows my mind. So I'm eternally grateful. Anyway, we're going to move into this week's channeling from the world of spirit. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
When one comes through in this form, through the vessel, one has to prepare and align thy vibrations so they match that of the vessel in order for us to take some sort of control over the vessel's, shall we say, faculties in order to align. What we do when we come through is we utilize the vessel's memory, we utilize their vocabulary, and we utilize what they have absorbed on their earthbound carnation to help us to formulate these words, these sentences that come through. So what we're saying is there's a great deal of effort that is required, and everything has to match up in order for us to blend and come through in each and every session that we have with you on this, shall we say, radio show that we're on. And we feel tremendously honored that this platform is being made available for us to come forward and share some universal truths and wisdoms with you. But going back to what we were saying, from our perspective, it's a very, shall we say, electoral process where there is a soul group, there is messages and communications that are wanting to come through the vessel, and we are elected to step forward and blend our frequency so that it matches that with the vehicle at this precise moment in time when you're hearing this transmission. What you will experience on some of these occasions, these topics and talks that we do discuss, is there will be other communicators that slide in and move over the top of the current communicator that is talking. Now, what is occurring when that happens is there is a dominant frequency at play, and this dominant frequency will be a stronger alignment, a stronger match with that of the vibration of the vessel and the allowance of the vessel for it to come through. So that's what occurs from our side of things when that is happening. But as you know, it's all energy, it's all information, it's all influence. And so if you can imagine, we often talk about, in your world, the internet and the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth and the radio signals quite frequently, where we often use this analogy to illustrate what we're doing. And in fact, what we're doing is where that frequency, where that information, and we're constantly everywhere and anywhere in any one given moment in time. But what it does take, it is the commitment and, shall we say, determination of the vessel. They have to be ready and willing and open to heighten their vibration and to align with the vibrations that are constantly around you every single moment of your incarnation. They have to have that level of diligence, and also they have to have a repetition of times made available for when we can make this connection with them in order to facilitate these transmissions. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that you're not fully aware of as a listener to these communications. But we assure you, it is all done in love, and it is all done for the highest good of one and all. What you will or may not be aware of, that also in these transmissions where we come through the vehicle, we are also emitting frequency tones through the voice, and you will be aware of the vehicle's voice being manipulated and changed in various accents, various pitches and dialects in order to bring these communications through. But what also is at play is the fact that healing energy is being transmitted through the frequency and the tones of the voice. So upon you listening to these transmissions, we endeavor that you feel higher vibrational within your own alignment, within your own physicality. You'll feel a level of upliftment and clarity. And the reason why we tell you this is that after you listen to these transmissions every week from ourselves on the radio show, you will notice certain parts of your personality changing. Certain parts of your belief systems being let go of as a result of allowing these frequencies of healing, of pure love and truth to permeate with your energetic physical body. So be aware of that the next time that you sit and listen to these transmissions that we bring forward for you. There's a great deal of effort and thought and alignment that does occur behind the scenes to enable all of these things to be facilitated. But as the old saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. And what we will do is we'll blend with those that are willing to sit with the purest of heart, the purest of intentions, for the good of one and all. And when we've found individuals that match that caliber, we then start to work in alignment with them. And that is in fact what we're doing here in this very transmission that you're listening to. So we hope that has shed a little bit of light on the situation, what does occur behind the scenes with every single transmission that takes place. We thank you for listening, and we're going to hand you over to another communicator that is wanting to come through and express some words of wisdom with you. Thank you and bye for now.
Fascinating communication there from the world of spirit. As ever, I always enjoy that segment of the show because I never know what's going to come through. But I have noticed and observed recently, it feels to me like there's a shift happening behind the scenes with my spirit guides and the communicators from spirit that are coming through. And I feel as though there's either some sort of energetic upgrade that's happening behind the scenes. With this being the case, I've kind of relaxed a little bit more than what I have been in previous channelings, and I'm simply trusting my intuition when to go into trance and what to let through, what not to let through. And I'm just finding that this phase in 2026, it feels like there's something building up behind the scenes, like there's a crescendo happening. So I'm just going with it, and I can't wait for that to come forward. I do feel as though it's going to be some vibration from a higher order that's getting the ingredients together to come forward in these channelings. But we shall see. I will trust, and we shall see what decides to step in and deliver information and channelings and healings for you in this segment of the show. So now we're going to move into the next segment of the show, which is a sneaky peek into this week's forecast reading. So do sit back, relax, enjoy, take some bullet points if you wish to help you through the course of your week. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's energy forecast reading for the week commencing Monday, the 19th of January 2026. Now, those of you that watched me work before will know that I connect with my spirit guides and helpers and also consult the wisdom of the angel tarot cards. So what I'm about to do, just shuffle the pack and allow a card to come out for this week's forecast reading. So this is your card for this week. I'm now going to link into the vibration of that card. First of all, I'm being told that this week will see the start of a rebirth for you, where there's going to be some substantial changes in your life, shifts, differences of opinion, also the way that you perceive your life and the world around you. With all rebirths, there is an element of discomfort when you move into this new timeline. Now, persevere with it, as it will not last forever. It's just a small blip, and that blip will get you motivated and ramped in to your new rebirth. With this rebirth being said, like I say, your opinions will change. You'll have more of a mature point of view. You'll also connect in with nature on a deeper level. And what I mean by that is you'll feel into life rather than intellectualizing life. And life will come more seamless for you because of that. You will also notice this is the end of the free version of the weekly forecast reading. If you would like to see the entirety of this week's forecast reading, then you can do that by subscribing. And as a subscriber, what you will receive is the full version of the weekly forecast reading. You will also receive the audio for the weekly radio show, and also you'll receive 10% off all of my spiritual services there. So this includes all of the readings there for you to benefit from. And also you will receive new updates and information and news of what's happening with myself and the services that I provide, and also the events that I take part in. You'll hear all about that ahead of everybody else. And this is because you're a subscriber to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. So you can find a link either above or below this video, where by clicking on the link, you can then become a subscriber to reap all of the benefits that I've described to you. So I look forward to having you on this journey with me as a Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium subscriber. Thank you for taking time to watch this video and supporting the work that Spirit and myself work together in doing so. Well, it sounds like we're all set for an interesting week. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode and the content and the answers from the dowsing rods experiment. So if you enjoy it, we may see the return of that coming back. So if you have any questions for the show, or you would like to contact me, go over to my website, www.glennboddice.spiritualmedium.com, or you can email me at glennboddice@live.co.uk. Have a fabulous week, everybody, whatever it is you're doing, and I'll see you the same place, same time next Monday. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to glennboddice.spiritualmedium.com.